Grr. Hey dolls, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, the suet pudding with another episode of Make-Up and Movies. This has been a long time coming. I just want to apologize to a bunch of people like Nick, who sent me some makeup, and Aunt B, who sent me some nails, and life got in my way, and I've been trying to put this together since Halloween last year, and so now it's finally the day. I am reviewing Death Becomes Her, a classic film starring Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. And if you've never heard of it, well then buckle up, because this is one of those films you won't believe you've never heard of it if you haven't, once I tell you about it. The makeup I'm using is from Lanci. Now, my Patreoner and makeup enabler, Nick, sent me this palette, the Panda palette, and the blush palette, yonks ago, and I was so thrilled to get them. The blush palette has blush along the bottom and then a highlighter. These are all highlighters, but these two are darker, and even though they're very shimmery and they're just dark, so I would use these as a bronzer, but because they're shimmery, I would also use them as a bronzer sparingly, or maybe some eyeshadow or something. But the highlighter here, the white one, is my favorite. I just love a white highlighter, just a shiny white highlighter. And these blushes aren't bad. Not bad. They're just not as pigmented as I would like, but they're still excellent, excellent blushes. And then this is the Panda palette, and this is a gray tone palette. It goes from a black matte to a white matte. It's got a black matte with sparkles in it, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 shimmers, and then the rest are all mattes. And I'm obsessed with gray tone palettes. I don't know why, I just am. And because I'm doing Death Becomes Her, I thought, oh good, I can get kind of dark and deep with this. The other palettes that Nick sent are the Dolphin palette, and this one is beautiful because it's very blue and turquoisey and sea colors, and I'm going to use a lot of these lighter colors to give that pallid look of Helen Sharp. That's the look I'm going for. Is there's a hole in my stomach, that like Freshly Dead look where she still has color in her face, but you can see stuff's going. I'm not putting in eye contacts. I'm not that person. I'm not going to start now. And finally, Nick sent me the Leopard palette, and as you can imagine just from the name, it's very neutral, but I love these kind of palettes for eyebrows. There's a lot of warm browns in here that I think will give me that Wilma tone to my eyebrows. I'm not a big fan of my eyebrows matching my wig color, especially if my wig color is like a bright red. I feel like I end up moving into Ronald McDonald territory. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't mind. I'd rather use a warmer brown than an actual red. But this has a gorgeous glitter in it. It's just called Glimmer, and it's just this brown glimmer, and it's just, I just think it's so stunning. And there are 3 shimmers here, and then the white in this is more of a bone color. It's not an actual white, but this is the chocolate in here. Even though it says it's chocolate, I think that that's black. I don't think that that's brown. Like, at first I thought with the name chocolate, it would be like a dark brown. And it could maybe have some warmth in it, that black. But I think that that's black. I mean, that's as black as you want to get with a palette like this anyway. So these are the palettes I'm using today. And I'm going to start off. And as you know, I'm not telling you what my brushes are because I don't know. I don't know. Half of them don't have names on them anymore or numbers. But I'm using a lot of blenders, fluffy blenders. I will also be using some more finer point, either pencil brushes that are thick or even the smaller ones. Like, I love these ones because they can get right in there. You can get some good detail going in there. As for anything else that I'll be using, if it's a weird or unique brush, I'll let you know. But for the most part, those are the brushes I use. Oh, the third brush that I love to use is a smudger. Anything like this, where it's all like short and flat, I find those are the best things for under the eyes and things like that. I'll also, for my eyebrows and eyeliner, be using a thin angled brush. I have one here somewhere. I'll have to look for it. I don't know where it is right this moment. And that'll be about it. So we're going to start with this very, very, very light blue to start creating my eye shape. I always do this. I always want to put on everything, and then I forget that I haven't put on any eye primer because I'm an idiot. Much better. All right. So I'm going to start with this color teal, which is actually a lot more blue than green. But that's a nice green there too. We might use both of them. We don't know. I'm just going to start here and start building up my shapes. Death Becomes Her is a 1992 American satirical black comedy fantasy film. The only thing it's missing is animation. There was no animation in it. It was directed and produced by Robert Zemeckis. It was written by David Cope and Martin Donovan. Filming began December 9th, 1991 and wrapped April 7th, 1992 and was shot entirely in Los Angeles. It was released on July 31st, 92 to mixed reviews from critics, but was a commercial success, grossing $149 million worldwide on a $55 million budget. The film was a pioneer in the use of computer-generated effects and went on to win the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, defeating Batman Returns and Alien 3. This is the third Robert Zemeckis film to win the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. The other Zemeckis films were Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 1988 and Forrest Gump in 94. Just going to take another fluffy blender. These are Docolor brushes, by the way, these neon ones. I'm going to go into Smog, which isn't the darkest, but I also feel like this gray has a warm tone to it, and I don't want to take all of the warmth out of my face. I just want it to look stark, so we'll start with this. Now this cast. First of all, delicious casting. Meryl, and the Oscar goes to Streep, stars as Madeline Ashton. Did you see her in Don't Look Up on Netflix? It's hilarious. You should watch it. It's so funny. Of course, Miss Streep is known for her fabulous Oscar-winning roles in fantastically rich, layered dramas. But she took this role because she wanted to do more comedy. And I'm so glad she did, because I think she's great in comedy. Bruce Willis was cast as Dr. Ernest Menville. I have to say, I really enjoyed what he did with this role. It was such a contrast to the types of roles he's done before, like Moonlighting, where he was sassy, and Die Hard, where he was shooty, and Reds, where he was, I don't know what he was in Red, maybe sullen. But either way, I'm so glad that he was in this movie. He did such a good job. And in light of his health problems that have come up over the last few years, I'm so glad that he's surrounded by so much love as he deals with these issues. I love you, Bruce! Goldie Hawn stars as Helen Sharp. Goldie Hawn, come on. Laugh-In, Private Benjamin, Foul Play, Overboard, Kurt Russell. Come on! Goldie is an Oscar winner. A lot of people don't realize that, but she won her Oscar for supporting role in her first movie ever, which was Cactus Flower, with Walter Matthau and Ingrid Bergman. Ingrid Bergman, of course, is the mother of Isabella Rossellini. And speaking of Isabella mother-tucking Rossellini, she stars as Liesel von Ruhmen. Of course, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Vanity Fair, Blue Velvet. Shut your face, it's Isabella Rossellini! One of my favorite parts of Death Becomes Her is the casting of Elena Reed Hall as a psychologist, where they treat Helen Sharp. She started her career on stage, but some of you seasoned viewers might remember her as Olivia Robinson on Sesame Street. But Elena's most known for playing Rose Lee Holloway on the NBC sitcom 227. God, I love that show. Regina King. Who knew? The only reason I'm even bringing up Adam Stork, who played Madeline's boy toy, Dakota Williams, is because he's also in Mystic Pizza as Julia Roberts' preppy boyfriend. Ooh, I should do Mystic Pizza. I'm writing it down. In the movie, there's this fabulous little part, Vivian Adams. She's the woman who thanks Ernest for how he made her aunt look for her funeral, and of course was then appalled when he reveals he uses spray paint. This is a very small role. I mean, it's a couple steps up from being an extra or a walk-on, but Mary Ellen Trainor, who played that part, was Robert Zemeckis' then wife. Susan Kellerman is Another actress in this movie plays a very, very small part. She's only in one scene. She's the ER nurse. And the reason I'm bringing her up is because I love her. She's in The Last Holiday with Queen Latifah, where she plays the floor steward at the hotel. She's in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, as Patty. That's right, she's Patty. And of course, no one can forget her from the dinner party scene in Beetlejuice. Well, unless you're 8 and don't like fun. This film also has a fabulous She Was a Nobody Then cameo. It's Deborah Jo Rupp as one of the asylum patients where Helen Sharp is being treated. Of course, we know now her as Kitty from That 70s Show. Another fabulous cameo is Sidney Pollack. Yes, the director, Sidney Pollack, as the ER doctor who examines Madeline after the stairs. He wasn't credited for the role, but seeing as this was the first time that he and Meryl Streep had worked together since Out of Africa in '85, he could have just done it so that they could have a visit. Who knows? The saddest part of this movie is the casting of Tracy Ullman in the deleted role of Tony the bartender. I love Tracy Ullman. Death Becomes Her was meant to be her return to films, and well, then they cut her the hell out of it. Thanks for nothing, Tinseltown. Okay, so now I am going to go into the Midnight shade, which is, I think, the matte black of the Panda palette. Oh, look, another doe color brush. I have to say, I don't grab these because they're my favorite. I grab them because I can see them. The neon green just makes my hand go to them every time. So I'm just saying, if you have a brush company and you want your brushes to be the first one somebody grabs for, neon bristles. I'm just saying, who knew? So what's it all about, Alfie, you ask me. First of all, my name's Wilma. Second of all, this film's about childhood rivals who've been fighting over the same man for decades. They spend a fortune unbeknownst to each other for a magic potion that makes them young and beautiful, but with a severe side effect. It opens in '78 with Madeline Ashton starring badly in a not much better Broadway musical. Her longtime frenemy Helen Sharp, an aspiring writer, visits her backstage with her fiancé, plastic surgeon Ernest Menville. As Helen fears, Madeline steals Ernest from Helen and marries him instead. 7 years later, Helen is obese, depressed, and committed to a psychiatric hospital where she plots revenge on Madeline. Another 7 years later, Madeline and Ernest live in Beverly Hills, but they are miserable. Madeline's acting career is in the toilet, and Ernest, now an alcoholic, has been reduced to working as a reconstructive mortician. Receiving an invitation to a party celebrating Helen's new book, Madeline rushes to a spa where the spa owner gives her the business card of Liesel von Rumen, a mysterious, wealthy socialite who specializes in rejuvenation. Madeline and Ernest attend the party for Helen's novel, Forever Young, and discover that Helen is young, thin, and gorgeous. Dumbfounded and depressed by Helen's appearance, Madeline witnesses Helen tell Ernest that she blames Madeline for his career decline. After the soiree, Madeline visits her young lover, but discovers he is with a woman his age. Dejected, Madeline drives to Liesel's home. Liesel, claiming to be 71 but looking decades younger, reveals a potion that promises eternal life and an everlasting youthful appearance. Madeline purchases the drink at an undisclosed price, drinks the potion, and is rejuvenated, gaining her beauty back. As a condition of purchase, Liesel warns Madeline to treat her body well. Now a warning? So funny. I have this little wing there. I don't put it there on purpose. It's just the way my muscle tone or the contours of my face are. I have to watch out or I end up with that little shape there. And if I don't put it on this side, then, I can look a little wonky. Yes, I started to put it. I have to be more specific, though, to put it on this side. Just something to bring you a little closer to the magic that is me. Meanwhile, Helen seduces Ernest and convinces him to kill Madeline. When Madeline returns home, she and Ernest argue, during which she falls down the stairs, breaking her neck. Believing Madeline dead, Ernest phones Helen for advice, but drops the phone in shock when he sees Madeline approach him with her head twisted on backwards. Ernest drives her to the emergency room. There, Madeline is told by a doctor she is technically dead. I only dipped my brush into the midnight shade of the Panda palette once for each eye. It's a lot of black. It's very powerful black, I'm just going to say. Madeline is then taken to the morgue due to the fact that, well, her body has no pulse and a temperature below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. After rescuing Madeline, Ernest considers her reanimation a miracle and uses his skills as a mortician to repair her body at home. Helen demands information about Madeline's situation. Overhearing Helen and Ernest discussing their plot to kill her, Madeline shoots Helen with a shotgun. The blast leaves Helen with a hole in her torso, but otherwise unharmed, revealing that she has also taken Liesel's potion. Now I'm going to go back in with my blue fluffy brush, or at least the fluffy brush I used for the teal color. I'm just going to put a bit of that, and I'm also going to go into Ocean, which is a little deeper, a little more teal as well, not as, hold this up, not as blue as this shade. This shade here, which I love, is a shimmer, and I might use that outside here, or maybe even on the inside, but for now I'm just kind of avoiding the shimmers. The two briefly fight before apologizing and reconciling their friendship. Fed up with the pair, Ernest prepares to leave, but Helen and Madeline convince him to repair their bodies one last time. Realizing they will need regular maintenance, they scheme to have Ernest drink the potion to ensure his permanent availability. The pair knock out Ernest and bring him to Liesel, who offers to give him the potion free of charge in exchange for his surgical skills. Ernest is very tempted, but after some thought, he fundamentally disagrees with the idea of immortality, especially considering the consequences Madeline and Helen are already suffering. He pockets the potion and flees, but becomes trapped on the roof. Helen and Madeline implore Ernest to drink the potion to survive an impending fall. Ernest realizes that they only need him for their own selfish reasons, refuses, and drops to the ground. But after falling, he lands in Liesel's pool and escapes. 37 years later, Madeline and Helen attend Ernest's funeral, where he is eulogized as having lived an adventurous and fulfilling life with a large family and friends. Now appearing grotesque with cracked, peeling paint and putty covering most of their gray and rotting flesh, they mock the eulogy and leave. Outside the church, Helen slips on a drop can of spray paint and falls down a flight of steps, dragging Madeline with her. Their bodies shatter to pieces at the curb, and Helen sardonically asks Madeline if she remembers where she parked the car. Oh look, another doe color brush. I'm just going into Snow, which is the white shade in the Panda palette. I'm just going to highlight my brow bone, but also fade out this color a little. As I said, the casting of this film is gorgeous, but not everyone was a first choice. In fact, before Bruce Willis was cast, Kevin Kline was offered the part of Dr. Ernest Manville. However, he fell out of the project due to a pay dispute with the studio. Jeff Bridges and Nick Nolte were both considered before Willis was eventually cast. Jennifer Jason Leigh was considered for the role of Helen Sharp. Ooh, did you see her in season 5 of Fargo? Brilliant! I love you, Jennifer Jason Leigh! I have to say, I do have a bake down, but as powdery as these shades are in the pan, I'm not getting a lot of fallout, so I'm mildly impressed. As with most films, there were some changes made and some scenes rewritten during the production. Most dramatically, the original ending was entirely redone after test audiences reacted negatively to it. That ending featured Ernest after he's fled Liesel's party, meeting a bartender, played by Tracy Ullman, who helps him fake his death to escape Madeline and Helen. The two women encounter Ernest and the bartender 27 years later, living happily as a retired couple, while Madeline and Helen give no sign that they are enjoying their existence. Zemeckis thought the ending was too happy and opted for the darker ending featured in the final cut. The screenplay was closer to a gender-flipped All of Me, which was a film starring Lily Tomlinson and Steve. Oh, I should do that one too. Write it down. Write it down. I think now is a good time to start doing some eyebrow shapes. I don't like to do my eyebrows too early, but I do like to... I find once I have them on, it helps me balance out the rest of the eye makeup, but I still, for some reason to this day, cannot put my eyebrows on first. I don't know where they go until I start my eyes. I don't know why. I don't know why. Don't ask me. This is a Jessup angled brush. I think it's a 317. I'm using Nude from the Leopard palette right now. In its earliest draft, Madeline was an aging Broadway star with a young male entourage. Ernest was a successful Beverly Hills plastic surgeon, and Helen was Dr. Helen Shaw and a side character. Liesl was an ordinary woman who specialized in exclusive beauty treatments, and she made Madeline, and only Madeline, immortal, but not through magic, but by transferring a curse in the form of a foul-mouthed ghost named Bert into her body, explaining that he had inhabited Liesl's body for 130 years to prevent himself from going to hell, and that one cannot age or die while his spirit remains. When Madeline died by Ernest pushing her down the stairs, Bert reanimated her body and prevented her from decomposing. The rest of the script saw Madeline and Bert fighting for control of her body. After searching unsuccessfully for a solution amongst religious experts, Madeline and Ernest schemed to transfer Bert into the body of Madeline's lover, only to have a crisis of conscience at the last minute. Instead, Madeline made amends with Helen, asking her and Ernest forgiveness for breaking them up and urging them to get back together. The act of atonement purified Madeline's soul and evicted Bert, allowing her to pass on peacefully as herself. And the screenplay ended with Ernest and Helen sitting together in a theater watching a tribute film about Madeline's life. Barf. I'm so glad they changed it. So now I'm going to dip into the Dolphin palette, and I'm going to use Island, because this is a warmer brown than some of the browns in the Leopard palette. So let's just see how this does. One version of the script saw Ernest fleeing to Tony's bar with the potion still intact, and she helps him escape Madeline and Helen by faking his death before they run away and start a new life together. Many years later, Madeline and Helen, both parodies of their former selves with crack-peeling paint and putty covering most of their gray and rotting flesh, are completely bored and miserable. They noticed an elderly couple being affectionate, and they become envious of them. As the couple gets into a car and drives away, Madeline and Helen realize it's Tony and Ernest because of his one young hand, and chase after them, only to be hit by an oncoming car and break into pieces. And now I'm going to take the thinnest brush that I have here. I don't even know what this is. Oh, it's a MAC 206. Angled. In another version of the script, Madeline Ashton and Helen Sharp were actually college friends instead of childhood friends who met at Radcliffe College. In this treatment, Madeline, while still vain, self-absorbed, and spiteful, was a far less malicious character. Ernest was the only love interest she had stolen from Helen, and she regretted her actions. In yet another version of the script, Helen didn't become an obese cat lady, and when Ernest meets up with Helen years later at her book signing event, she hasn't yet taken the potion. Thus, she looks older, yet is still beautiful enough to seduce Ernest and make Madeline antsy and jealous. I've been using this Rude Cosmetics finishing spray, or fixing spray, but it's fine. It's shine control, so it's meant to keep you from getting oily if you're that person. I'm not that person, but I also don't want this on to touch any of the bake I have on my under eye, so I'm just going to just spray it right on my eyebrows. There we go. I'm just going to take that smudger brush I was talking about. I'm going into Dolphin, which is one of the darker teal colors in the palette, and I just want to put down some darker blue. Helen was originally supposed to take the potion in the final act of the film, leading up to her fight with Madeline. One draft of the script had Liesl being over 100 years old instead of 71. Her deepest desire was to use the potion to preserve the greatest minds and creative talents of the world forever, such as William Shakespeare, Abraham Lincoln, and Max Factor. Oh. Unfortunately for her, those great minds came to the same conclusion that Ernest ultimately did. Eternal life is not a dream but a nightmare, and she killed them in retaliation. The fact that pretty much the only people interested in the potion were the vain, narcissistic personalities of Hollywood was a bone of contention for her. It brought her wealth, but not the collection of intelligent talent she dreamed of. There was also a draft where it was hinted that Liesl was actually Cleopatra, explaining the Egyptian symbols on the box holding the potion. Another proposed ending for the film had Madeline and Helen stealing a car at Liesl's and chasing after Ernest, only to drive off a cliff and crash with a fiery explosion. Then, Madeline and Helen emerged from the wreckage as charred skeletons. In one of the proposed original endings, Ernest was meant to die from the long fall at Liesl's mansion while trying to escape, and his funeral was meant to take place afterward at the very end of the film. Just going to take my P. Louise primer. It is Rumors in 0. It's the white one. It's the one I use. I've tried others. They're fine. This is my favorite. There you go. So now I'm just going to cut my crease. Audiences polled by CineScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale. Gene Siskel and Robert Ebert, who both gave Death Becomes Her a thumbs down, commenting that while the film had great special effects, it lacked any real substance or character depth, which, of course, I find funny because the main characters in this film were meant to lack substance or depth. So I guess they nailed it. Okay, so now I'm going to do some eyeliner, and I've been having a lot of problems with eyeliner, but this is Black Radiance. I got this at Shoppers. This is not an expensive eyeliner. It's liquid. It's fantastic. I have to say that this right now is the only eyeliner I seem to be able to rely on. Like, it just seems to, no matter what's going on, it goes on. The only thing I don't like is the brush, or should I say the applicator, it's almost like a little plastic spatula. It's not like a pliable brush. It just takes some getting used to. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It just takes a little getting used to. The film's release on DVD was called appallingly bad due to the quality of the transfer, which has been said to suffer some excessive grain blur and muted colors. Many online DVD forum users speculated that the DVD transferred was taken from a Laserdisc edition of the film and called for a restorative release. Hell, I wouldn't mind a restorative release. I'm going to take that black smudger and I'm going to go into Coal, which is the black matte in the Panda palette, but it has some shimmer on it, some glitter. And I love to set my eyeliner with something with a bit of something going on. I just like to try and, you know, give it that little something extra. Sometimes I'm the only one who can see it, and that's fine. Death Becomes Her was Robert Zemeckis' 8th film. Meryl Streep took the role because it was, in her words, too original to pass up. At this point in her career, she had grown sick of her string of Oscar bait dramas and longed to go against type and do more comedies. While Meryl Streep doesn't hate the movie as a whole, she did hate the filming process and having to tailor her acting to the special effects, like having to pretend a lampstand was Goldie Hawn and reshooting scenes to line up with the effects used to make her body look twisted. She also said that this film is her first, last, and only visual effects-driven movie, yet it wasn't. She was in Adaptation in 2002 and Lemony Snicket in 2004. She was also in Mary Poppins Returns in 2018, but I'm not sure if there were a lot of special effects in her scenes. Now I'm going to clean up under my eyes and just fix my nose contour a little bit with some blending, but instead of using a concealer, which is what I would normally use because, well, that's what they're for, I'm going to use Super Color by Krylon, which is a professional makeup company. Theater makeup, theater and film, TV, film, all of it. Anyway, but I'm going to use this instead as a concealer. And see how it goes. Although Goldie Hawn overall loved the film, she significantly preferred the original ending, finding it much more interesting and poignant, and expressed disappointment it didn't test well enough to be used. Streep, on the other hand, was partial to the revised ending. Like The Frighteners and From Dusk Till Dawn, Death Becomes Her was originally going to be a sequel to the 1989 Tales from the Crypt movie. The TV theme song by Danny Elfman was actually used in the trailer even after the film became a standalone. I'm just going to take another fluffy brush and I'm going to go into Snow from Panda and just set all this white. Amalgamated Dynamics created a working animatronic of Meryl Streep with her head twisted backwards, which was capable of movement, blinking, and speech, though the effect ultimately wasn't lifelike enough to be used for facial close-ups. The animatronic was used for a few shots showing Madeline from behind with Meryl Streep's face superimposed onto her back through blue screen technology. But for the most part, a lot of the effects were just makeup and prosthetics. So I'm taking that chiseled, angled, narrow MAC brush that I used on the tail end of my eyebrows. I'm just going into Midnight, which is the black from the Panda palette, and I am just going to start this process. Thanks to the technological advances of this film, Industrial Light and Magic used some of the same techniques for Jurassic Park in 1993, which I think is hilarious. The technology from a film about two old women afraid of becoming dinosaurs being used in a movie about dinosaurs. Delicious! I'm just going to take a fairly good-sized pencil brush, and I'm going to go into Sky, which is the blue shimmer in the Dolphin palette. George Lucas's special effects company, Industrial Light and Magic, directed the visual effects in Death Becomes Her, which are considered a milestone in the industry. It is the first time the texture of human skin was computer generated. There's a great scene after Madeline's drunk the potion where her body starts to change, and special effects had created a pneumatic bra to create the effect of Meryl Streep's breast becoming higher and firmer, but the effect didn't look realistic enough, so in order to get the shot, Meryl Streep's dresser stood behind her out of sight and pushed her breasts into position with her hands. Well, there's a job. I'm just going to take this Artitude Cosmetics, I'm not sure what this brush is for. It doesn't even have a number. I got this in the first wave of the Maneater collection, so none of the brushes have a number or a name, which is perfectly fine with me. But I'm just going to take this brush, and I'm just ever so slightly going to dip it into this gray and this white. And then just to, it could be a little darker here. I don't want to have any warmth on my face, really, as far as shadows and that goes, so. In the scene where Helen sits down onto a shovel handle, she didn't sit in the way she was expected to, so the special effects people at Industrial Light and Magic had to morph the image to make it look like the shovel handle was pushing up into her chest. I have to say, when I first saw that, I thought that was the best effect in the whole movie. Well done, everybody. Speaking of the shovel scene, Meryl Streep accidentally scarred Goldie Hawn's cheek with the shovel during that scene. I'm just going to take a P. Louise, I don't know what this brush is for. It's the F24. Could be a highlighter brush, could be a lot of things, but I am just using it to blend out this black. There's a scene where Ernest is running around the emergency room trying to find a doctor for Madeline, and Kurt Russell can be seen giving an interview on the television in the waiting room. Of course, this is Goldie Hawn's longtime partner. They've been together since 1983. Now for the blushing. The blushings? Is he blushing? This is my P. Louise brush for blush. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the red bow, because it's a darker color. I'm mostly going to use this pink, but I'm going to start with this darker one here and just go over the dark that I have in there and try and take some of that dead color out of it. Let's start back with the blush and work it forward. Because this is a darker one, I'm also keeping it low to help with the contour. The three main characters' names in this movie are a play on words. Madeline, Ernest, and Helen can all be shortened to Mad Ern Hell, or Matter in Hell, just so you know. In the film, after years of being mousy and frumpy, Helen Sharp transforms herself into a sexy redhead and wears a sexy red dress at her book signing. In one of Zemeckis' previous films, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jessica Rabbit is a sexy redhead who famously wears a sexy red dress. I think I'm seeing a theme. Death Becomes Her has acquired a significant cult following, especially in the LGBT community. In a 2017 Vanity Fair article after the 25th anniversary of the film's release, the film was slated to be a gay cult classic and a touchstone of the queer community. The movie is screened in bars during Pride Month, while the characters of Madeline and Helen are favorites of drag performers. The movie even inspired a Death Becomes Her themed runway show on season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race. But before that, the winner of season 5, Jinx Monsoon, quoted the movie during her challenges and in fact has said that Death Becomes Her was what inspired her to be a drag queen in the first place. She even posed with season 5's Miss Congeniality, Ivy Winters, for a Death Becomes Her photo series by LA-based photographer Rick Middlesworth. And in 2018, Jinx played Madeline in a drag show parody called Drag Becomes Her alongside season 6 contestant Ben de la Creme. And if that weren't enough, production has started on a musical adaptation of Death Becomes Her set to hit the stage in the spring of 2024. I don't think I'm strong enough. Well, and there we go. This is more or less the look. So now what I'm going to do is lippy, lashes, a little wig, and an ensemble, and I'll be right back. Shut your face. Do you remember where we parked the car? All right. Well, this is as close as I was going to get to a Helen Sharp wig. This is actually my Little Mermaid / Jessica Rabbit wig that Denise Cherneau did for me. Need to brush out. I really should have restyled it for this. I also want to point out that although I do not have a hole in my stomach, although there's room for a couple, Aunt B did these nails for me, and as you can see, I have holes in my nails. Just these two. There's a hole with a rhinestone, I guess, plug that's meant to go in the hole. I think these are the most beautiful. I also love that they're pink on the back and red on the front. So thank you, Aunt B. I love these. And of course, Denise Cherneau. Follow her, won't you? She may not have been responsible for the way this wig looks today, but she's responsible for this wig. And as you know, she is my wig whisperer. She's also a fantastic artist. I have quite a few of her designs in my Redbubble store. If you're looking for some Wilma merch, I'm just saying. But that's not what we're here for. We are here for the look and the movie. So let's talk about the look first. Let's just get this over and done with. I used today for this look Delancey, mostly Delancey. I would say 98% Delancey. We have the Panda palette, the Dolphin palette, and the Leopard palette. Leopard on the eyebrows, Dolphin for the blues, and as well as the Panda palette. I also used the Panda palette for powder contour. Just bits, and I wanted it to be a cool contour, so I used that, and I think it turned out really well. On top of that, I also used the Delancey blush palette. It's called Queen Illuminator, and I really like this. I really only used these two shades plus the highlighter, but it is a spectacular palette. I want to thank Nick Sweet, one of my Patreoners, and one of my makeup enablers, for sending me those. I'm so sorry, Nick, it took me so long to use the first two, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm thrilled that I waited, because now I have the other two to play with along with it. My lip liner, I used two. I used a Beats from MAC, because that's the one I used, and then I got a bunch of P. Louise lip liners that were all neutral tones, but some of them were quite deep brown. And I used that to ombre out my lips. On top of that, I recently got the Rude Cosmetic Christmas bag, mystery bag, and in that was this thing called Stardust. I still don't know if it's meant to go on your lips only or if you can use it anywhere as a topper, but it is actually listed as a topper, but I couldn't figure out much more than that on their website. But I used it on my lip on the bottom just to give it, because it's a very slight pink with a bit of orange in it too. It's really a gorgeous highlighter. So what's the verdict on the Delancey makeup? Well, as far as these palettes go, they get full drag queen approval because I'm a drag queen and I approve of Delancey. They have great pigmentation, great blendability. The black in the Panda palette is spectacular. Just a little dab will do ya. I'm really enjoying how everything blended. I stuck mostly to the lighter tones than the Dolphin palette, but I did go in to some of the blacks with some of the darker teals that are in that palette, just to kind of give them a bit more dimension. I also used Black Radiance eyeliner on my lids. I really like this company. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, let's talk about the movie. This is one of my favorite films. In fact, this genre of film is my favorite. I love a bit of suspense, a bit of drama. I love a lot of humor in there as well. Films that are like this for me, War of the Roses. Love that film. Kathleen Turner, Michael. I should do that one too. Write it down. Where's my pen? I'm not sure how they sold this film. They may have sold it as just a comedy, which would have made the dark tones in it a little jarring maybe for people. Or they might have sold it as more dark and then people went and didn't. I don't know. But it didn't. It did better once it was re-released on DVD at a better quality. Because, I mean, it's a special effects heavy movie. You want to see the good special effects. And when they went from VHS to DVD, yeah, I remember it not going well. But the things I liked about this were Goldie Hawn was not playing a particularly funny role. It was funny. I think the scenes when Goldie Hawn is in the fat suit, I remember behind the scenes footage of her singing A Pretty Girl as she's exiting the makeup trailer and sending pictures to Kurt Russell of her looking like that. I mean, it was funny. But her character isn't necessarily funny. It's just humorous situations. Meryl Streep, on the other hand, very funny. The role of Madeline is meant to be ironic and sarcastic and full of poo without smelling it. You know what I mean? She's not a nice character, and I think Meryl Streep played it beautifully. But the standout cast member for me has to be Bruce Willis. Up until this movie, he always played like a rugged action type or smart mouth. You know what I mean? He was quick to action, and even if it went wrong, people's lives were saved. And for him to play this role, there's that one scene where he is running away from the Dobermans, Liesel's dogs, and he gets to the end of a hallway, and they're coming at him, and he's sounding like, and then just as he gets through a gate and is about to close it, one of the dogs grabs his coat, bites it, and grabs it off of him. And while that's happening, he actually squeals. It's not his scream. It's not a feminine sound. It's a guttural pig sound, like, wee! And that moment in the movie for me is why I think Bruce Willis is a brilliant actor. I think for him to take these masculine, virile roles and eschew them to play this sad, manipulated, overboard, I don't know, how do you say overbearing, past, but I mean, he's completely emasculated and just desperate for any way out of his bad situation. I really am glad they went with the ending that they did because it's funny. Do you remember where you parked the car? Spinning head on the floor. Do you remember where you parked the car? Very funny. The fact that the film spans a lot of years too. I think one of the unsung heroes of this film is the wardrobe department. I mean, they had to dress Madeline Ashton in a musical, plus all those people. There were all of the people in the theater getting up and leaving. A lot of them had lines they muttered as they went. And that started in the 70s, and then they went through it all. If you have not seen Death Becomes Her, do. If you've avoided it because you've thought, well, who's Goldie Hawn? Or why should I watch a Meryl Streep movie? Do. I like that this movie kind of addresses all of what we're going through right now. I don't know, it's not a cautionary tale. Nobody's living forever. But if you could, would you? But either way, I highly recommend Death Becomes Her, and I highly recommend the fabulous makeup that's available at Lanci Cosmetics. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And if you would like to help support this channel even more, there's a thank you button just below this screen, which allows you to leave a tip or two through YouTube, or you can use my OG link in the description box to leave a tip or two through PayPal, join the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, or get your own Wilma merch in my Redbubble store. Thank you for tuning in. Stay healthy, stay happy, and until next time, miss me. Mwah. Seriously, where is the car? Did we have a car? I can't afford a car. Why would I have a car?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.